Hello and welcome. It is I, Iron Raven, back yet again with another new topic of discussion. Now, as you can see, what I'm holding here is the Master Chief's helmet. This is the collector's helmet from the Legendary Edition of Halo 3, released way back in 2007. Oh, how long it has been. Now, the whole purpose of this video, now, it's not necessarily meant to be fully crapping on the Halo series. We know it seems like they're doing some missteps. I'm like, do I really have interest in it? Not really. But it's more of the whole idea of what makes a certain character that character, particularly if they wear a mask or a helmet, whatever have you, and also just in a sense to show appreciation for the physical performer and what they can bring to life on screen just by wearing something like this. Now, as we know at this point, with the new Halo series that they're doing, as well as many other things that they keep screwing up. I mean, yeah, we've seen time and time again now how they really just don't care about bringing the characters to life as we've known them for so long, and how they always want to just change things like that. And then pretty much within the first episode of this new Halo series, they take off Master Chief's helmet. Now, I know it's been described what his facial features look like in one of the books or something like that. And at the end of Halo 4, you do get like a close up of his eyes, but not necessarily the full details of his face. And that's pretty much mostly what we've gotten. But pretty much from the series beginning to the end, through Bungie, through 343, it's pretty much remained consistent that the identity of Master Chief is this helmet, the Spartan. And that's really what I want to try to dissect with this, is that why there seems to be a great lack of appreciation for a character that wears something like this, and what makes that character, and the beauty of what makes an actor be able to translate something like this just by wearing something like this to translate emotion and to connect with the audience. And with this series, you take his helmet off within the first episode. Now, for the general audience, then that's all they're going to see Master Chief as. Even though the gamers for over 20 years, since the Xbox first launched back in 2001 when that game came out, Halo Combat Evolved, ever since then, we've pretty much known Master Chief solely as this, for the most part. And so when you do something like this, that, yeah, it's not canon, it's their own series, it's pretty much only an excuse for them to do whatever the hell they want to do. And so that's what the general audience is just going to see Master Chief as, even though the gamers in general who have been playing all these entries of these games and who know this character pretty much see him just as this. And so for a TV show format to just, when the games themselves haven't even really gone that far with it, for an adaptation to change something as drastic as that is pretty strange to do something like that. And it goes to show how they really don't appreciate something like this. If a character wears a helmet, and if that defies that character, then stick to that. Take pride in that, because the beauty of it is the subtlety in their movements and their dialogue, just through a simple head turn wearing something like this can translate a lot depending on the situation. I mean, you look at Darth Vader, it's like, yeah, we've had the James Earl Jones. I mean, it's pretty much been brought to life by three different people. It was James Earl Jones doing the voice. We had Sebastian Stan being the revealed version of him by the end of Return of the Jedi. And of course, David Prowse, who portrayed him physically, who people like that tend to fly under the radar a lot of time for people, because they don't really think much about the physical performer and what nuances, like the subtleties that they can bring to something like that through just sheer physical means. I mean, hell, you look at the horror genre, most people don't really appreciate the actors that actually bring the characters like Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees to life. From like the Richard Brookers to the Kane Hodders who played Jason. I mean, Kane Hodder, who's very much a fan favorite, who's the only one who's played Jason multiple times over the course of 4 films, as well as the video game from a few years ago. He did the motion capture for that. Someone like him, who I've had the pleasure of talking to numerous times, he's a very passionate dude. He really does enjoy playing that character and embodying that character. He doesn't need to show his face in order to, gain some sense of respect. It's like, no, because he appreciates that character. It's like, yeah, the Jason character has been unmasked, but they have makeup effects. But for the most part, what defies that character throughout the majority of those films is the mask that they wear in their physical performance, and what brings that to life, what makes you feel terrified of something like that. Even up to points like Dread, people who really feel that Dread movie back from like what 2012 with Carl Urban, someone who's pretty well established as an actor even up until that point, played the character, and even he gave great respect to that character by keeping the helmet on the whole time. Now we see his mouth, we see him talking and all that, but we don't see his eyes, and he never takes the damn thing off. He sticks to that character because he knows that's that character, and that's all he has to do. He's just acting with this down here and the rest of his body, and that's it. The eyes, of course, are a very important tool for any actor to translate a lot of things. But if you can find a way to bring a character through life, through that sheer physical means, through a sheer voice, even voice actors and stuff like that, then there's great beauty in that. You look at Andy Serkis, someone who's very much beloved by a lot of people because of the work that he's done, even back to Lord of the Rings, back in the early 2000s, Smeagol, Gollum, stuff like that, to the King Kongs, to the Caesars from the Planet of the Apes. You look at something like his body of work, that's a very impressive stuff. Through sheer physical means, he's able to bring an actual ape to life. He completely embodies an actual ape. And all you have to do is just mask him with some digital stuff and, great digital work. And then next thing you know, it's like the dude is an ape. And it's like you buy into that throughout that whole trilogy. And it's so damn impressive. And that's what I'm talking about, is that even when you look at the Snake Eyes film from a few years back, all they did was just show his face. He didn't even have the mask on until like the last damn 30 minutes of the movie. So they really didn't show any respect to that character. So that's why a lot of these filmmakers, a lot of these actors nowadays, they should take pride in just bringing forth a character just by wearing something like this. So even you look at Boba Fett, the Mandalorian, like, yeah, we know what Boba Fett looks like. We know his established lore and all of that. We know Jango. But for the most part, the Boba character was a helmet wearer. That's what he was. Like I said, that's what we knew him as in the OG trilogy, and the voice and all that stuff. You look at the series, all they want to do is take his mask off, and he's hardly even the same character anymore. And the Mandalorian, it's not as much. I only watched the first season, but they're more consistent with something like that. But the main point is that what you can bring to life with a character just by wearing this, just by a voice, but just by a sheer head turn to show emotion, anything like that. There's great beauty in something like that, and it's really becoming a lost art as well as a lot of things with just film in general. But the physical performer, like I said, that's something I have a great passion for personally. I feel like that's a very unique way to bring a character through life. Like I said, if I was in their position, I'd be like, no, if that's the character, I want to leave the helmet on. I want to translate that onto film, because to me, I feel like that there's just much more satisfaction in being able to do that, because not everyone can just do it. A lot of people, like the general audience, when they watch your average horror film, you've watched Friday the 13th or whatever, a lot of them aren't really going to care or probably pick up on a lot of the nuances of these characters. I mean, if you look at James G. Courtney from the new Halloween films, now you may or may not be a fan, but if you watch those films, watch what that guy does. This guy is on another level. He truly brings great nuance to the character of Michael Myers, and there's great beauty in something like that. And you don't really see his face. I mean, the new ones, like, they kind of show him in the shadows a bit. You might see an eye here and there. But of course, obviously, it's just a sheer physical performance. And what he's able to do with that, and the pride he takes in that, is absolutely, like, it's great stuff. It absolutely is. I mean, other actors like Doug Jones, who's done things like Pan's Labyrinth and Hellboy. So yeah, the horror genre in and of itself is filled with a lot of people like that. And so that's what I mean. It's just kind of a lost art. And at least in that genre, they tend to appreciate something like that. Even up to other films like Scream, other actors, or it's more stunt people just in general that do those types of things. But because a lot of that is really mostly the voice, like Roger Jackson, who does the voice of Ghostface. And so that's what I mean, is that if you just have a voice, if you just have your body to use that's covered up, you're wearing a helmet, if that's your only tool, and if you can bring that to life through any character that you're playing, then there's a lot of respect to be had with something like that. And so, like I said, it's just kind of a lost art. And so for the Halo series to just take off his helmet and just be like, screw it, you don't need it. We want to relate to the audience. I'm like, no, because you're losing the subtleties. You're losing the beauty of a character who just wears something like this and who translates that. And hell, we've been playing the video games, like I said, for over 20 years now. And people have been relating to Master Chief even when he was just when he wasn't nowhere near as detailed as far as the graphics and all that stuff goes, when we didn't have all the subtleties of the facial movements, these cutscenes. I mean, we were relating to him even back then, just with his voice and just through watching the character, playing the character. So it's a lost art in and of itself, and it's a true shame to be witnessing that. It's like, just keep the damn helmet on. You can do a lot with something like this, all right? And it's something that you should take pride in. So anyway, I feel like I've babbled on long enough. I've kind of made my point here. Just something to kind of show, like, yeah, something a little relevant with the Halo series, but also to kind of show appreciation for this sort of work right here, when all you have to work with is pretty much that. All right, so just keep the helmets on. Take pride in that shit. All right, it's cool. It's badass. If you can make it work, more power to you. Anyway, yes, I appreciate you watching this. If you have, just a fun little discussion, something I have a little bit of a passion for personally. Anyway, that'll do it for this one. I am Iron Ray.